Hello my beautiful friends and welcome back to our channel and today's video, which is the fourth video in our series on shoulds. My name is Beck, I am a mindset coach and a medical doctor. I am bringing this video to you on shoulds today as a part of a bigger series because I want to help you be released from all of the wastefulness of shoulds. Shoulds are something that steal our energy and our motivation and they throw us off track. They have us allocating our resources in the wrong spot, just being puppeted around by these ideas, these unquestioned ideas about what we should do. And it's my agenda to get you more in tune with what you genuinely believe that you should do. I believe that we all have our own set of values that drives us to contribute to the world in a way that is genuinely needed. I think we have an underrepresentation of so many voices and ideas at the moment, and if everybody could be able to step up and into themselves, we'd be able to serve more of the population that currently doesn't have the voices and the role models and community that we would benefit from. So it's my absolute honor to have you here today. If you're somebody who's looking into these topics, then I bet there's something that is wanting to come out in you in a way that you want to step up and into the world as more of yourself. It is my absolute honor to have you here. Now let's get into it. In the first two videos in this series, we pulled up and got some more awareness of your shoulds. And we also got the theoretical understanding that our shoulds are optional. Now, even though we have this theoretical understanding, it does take time and application to really understand that we can move our beliefs. But don't worry about that, we'll work on this as we go. In the third video, I showed you how you can use the tool, the cognitive program, to work out whether your shoulds are indeed a problem or not. As a general rule, I think that your shoulds probably aren't producing the desired outputs or outcomes, the desired experience that you want, or at least generally shoulds aren't the best option to create what you want. You've got other better options than shoulds. But this work is individual, it's personal, and you need to be able to do this assessment and try this on for yourself, or of course with a coach. Now in the next two videos, we're going to talk about the resistance that almost always comes up when we talk about releasing our shoulds and starting to think differently. There's a reason why we can't just click our fingers and have the shoulds all go away and start to naturally live into our values. The shoulds are there and we're holding on to the shoulds for reasons beyond just our awareness that we're using should statements. So in my experience with my clients, there are two different sources of resistance when it comes to releasing our shoulds. The first type of resistance comes from the goal of the should, and the second type of resistance comes from the good in the should. The resistance from the goal of the should comes from the idea that our shoulds are useful, that our shoulds are driving positive motivation and positive behavior in our lives. And the good in the should is referring to the fact that the should is usually driven and trying to execute on a genuine value that we have. It's often poorly executing on this value, but nonetheless, deep down and well behind the should, it is driven by a value, and our values are really important. In today's video, we're just going to talk about the first type of resistance, the goal of the should. Let's talk about it. Before our shoulds are examined, and especially before they're examined in a full cognitive program, we assume that our shoulds are creating some kind of motivation or helping us adhere to a standard in our lives. This is usually the goal of the should. This is usually the way that shoulds are used. They create a sense of obligation and motivate us by a fear of punishment, a fear of not good enoughness or not achieving this and what that means. Now we can do a quick experiment and see if this is one of the beliefs that you have, that your shoulds are useful, that your shoulds are creating outcomes that you want and helping you adhere to these standards. By asking, if we could wave a magic wand and get rid of all of your shoulds, what comes up for you here? If we could say that you could never say should to yourself again, you couldn't use the word should when it comes to your goals, how do you think that that would affect the way that you show up, the behaviors that you choose to take, the way that you feel? Most people would say things like, but without my shoulds, how would I make myself do anything? Without my shoulds, I wouldn't be motivated. Without my shoulds, I wouldn't hold myself to this standard. Without my shoulds, I just become lazy. Without my shoulds, I'd stop doing the right thing. Without my shoulds, I'd stop being an ethical person. Now, these are the words of somebody who only understands motivation, or predominantly understands motivation, from the perspective of fear of loss, fear of punishment, or threats. This is what I call dirty motivation. I've got a whole video on clean motivation versus dirty motivation. I'll link it up if you want to go and check that concept out more. But don't worry if this is something that you found that you've fallen into, because the truth is, for us as humans, our minds have this tendency, this loss aversion, and this automatic prioritizing of threats. Our minds have evolved to give more attention to the potential threat, the loss, the fear, then the gain, the good. This is simply the automatic default state of our mind. Now, it is true that this motivation to avoid pain is genuinely a motivation for us. It does move us into action, and you feel as you get stress in your body that it gives you energy. But what we're seeing from this burnout epidemic is that this chronic stress, while it might help in the sense that it gives you a little boost of energy immediately, in the immediate sense, it comes at high costs over time. We keep using our chronic stress as fuel. This is when it becomes maladaptive in other ways. Now, if I told you that there was another fuel source available, a fuel source that gives you that same energy, mobilizes resources just like stress does, but it didn't come with the costs of chronic stress, the cost of burnout, the exhaustion, the state of hypervigilance, the state of cynicism that stress, chronic stress comes with, but it still creates the same level of motivation and energy, you would pick that clean fuel every time. And the reason that we don't pick this clean fuel, that we instead continue to choose to use stress to motivate us, is because we don't believe that this clean fuel is available, or we forget that this clean fuel is available. A lot of us are so disconnected from our genuine desire to do good things, to do things to gain, to change, to benefit, to fulfill what we want in our life. But it's such a powerful source of fuel. We are wired with this motivation to move towards pleasure, just like we're wired with this motivation to move away from pain. And we just try to do this in the most efficient way possible. This is the motivational triad: to move towards pleasure, away from pain, and to do it in the most efficient way possible. Unfortunately, the most efficient way possible for our brain is often what we've practiced. And a lot of us have practiced using fear and stress as our fuel, as our energy source, as our motivation. Worse for people with shoulds, people who fall victim to these shoulds. We're so busy running around and chasing all the shoulds that we need to do that we don't take the time to stop for ourselves and think about our desires, to dwell on our desires, to stay in this space of possibility. So many of us are so disconnected from our desires these days, and so overwhelmed and smothered by obligation. When you ask people what they want these days, what they want to feel, so many people just want to feel relief from this suffering rather than thinking about the possibility and the wonders of being able to feel wonderful. My first exercise for you to do today is to look into those statements about who you think you would be and what you think it would cost you to not have your shoulds anymore. To look into your mind and see if you think that this stress and fear, this obligation, is necessary for you to feel energy and motivation to do something. And take a little bit of time to reconsider the motivation that comes from the desire, the wanting for something. Remember the last time you really wanted something and you believed it was possible. Perhaps it would be challenging, but you believed that the challenge would be worth it and you could execute on that challenge. Think about how it feels to achieve something great or create something great for yourself, for somebody else, for the world at large. That is fuel. Now, the second and final thing that you can do from today's videos is to use this resistance as a cue to look into what is going on in your mind, in your body, when this should comes up. So when you have a should, say, I should go to the gym, I should about some future activity that you should do. This generally implies that there is some resistance. If there wasn't a resistance, you wouldn't be saying that you should go. You would say you want to go or you will go, etc. If it's something that is value aligned to you. Now, instead of just doing the automatic thing where you try and override this resistance, I want you to use this as a cue to look into the resistance. Why is it that you don't feel a desire to go to the gym right now? What is your resistance to go to the gym right now? Look up into your thoughts. Are you thinking about how uncomfortable this session will be? Are you thinking about the fact that last week in your session, you were feeling really unmotivated, you found it really difficult, or you didn't execute it in the way that you wanted to, and so you were beating yourself up in your mind during the session? Are you thinking about the fact that you're so comfortable where you are right now, and the last thing you want to do is go and change your clothes? Are you thinking about the fact that your shoes are uncomfortable and you don't want to put them on right now? Are you thinking about the fact that you missed last week's session, and so you're having the thought, what's the point of even going? I missed the session anyway. I'm not going to achieve my goal anyway. Inquiring and understanding all of these sources of resistance is in itself the key to removing the resistance. These are all obstacles that once resolved no longer have to form sources of resistance for you. But otherwise, as long as you don't investigate them and allow them to keep being sources of resistance, they will probably repeat in the future for you. A lot of the thoughts that come up and create resistance will simply be thought errors for which, when you see them, you will easily, quite effortlessly release them with just a little bit of critical thinking. That's a very high yield, powerful result at a very low cost of just a little bit of journaling, critical thinking, talking with your coach. Imagine if you didn't have to deal with that resistance. For example, the thought that you missed a session and then projecting that to mean that you're not going to achieve the result that you want in the future. What about thinking about the discomfort that you're about to experience in the gym? This could be reframed as you being the kind of person who makes yourself uncomfortable, and that discomfort being the price of the change that you want. The fact that you actually want to feel that discomfort. What about the idea that your shoes are uncomfortable? Well, this could prompt you to simply go and get a new pair of shoes. The fact that it's worth $100 to go and get a new pair of shoes, because it will help you go consistently to the gym for the next 3 months, which will get you the energy levels and the sense of confidence or whatever you get from this gym adventure that you really, really want. So that's looking at the resistance that is probably implied with the should. And then you also have this opportunity in this moment when the should comes up to look at your desire to go to the gym. As I mentioned before, desire doesn't come innately to a lot of us. Desire is something that we need to direct our mind to. Reminding yourself not just of what you have to lose from going to the gym, as your mind will freely offer up the discomfort, the uncertainty of actually achieving what you want to achieve, but purposefully, skillfully redirecting your mind to what you get out of it, what you have to gain from going to the gym. I think you will find that people who have created a life where they go to the gym regularly, these people aren't motivated by self-punishment or berating thoughts, willpower and overriding themselves. These associations with the gym aren't usually ones that create habits of consistency. But instead you'll find that people who go to the gym regularly are just better at redirecting their mind towards their desires, towards what they want. And this creates that clean motivation that is sustainable and reliable. And it also feels amazing. That's all I got for you guys today. If you already know that you want to take this work deeper and you're loving the sound of clean motivation and using less of that dirty motivation, then come along and jump on a free, no cost, no obligation consult with me. We'll talk about if and how coaching can help you. Thank you guys so much for watching this one, and I'll see you in my next one.